All right, so check it out. It's become really interesting to me how we've come to associate Jesus' own words about hell with being like the fate of those outside of the faith that we were raised on. Like the ones that we label as them and not us, the unbelievers, the ones who never crossed that line or unlocked the code like we did. The skeptics, or what we would call heathens or pagans, however you want to frame it up. But if you actually look at the text of the Gospels, Jesus wasn't ever wagging his finger about hell at those caught in sin, or those trying to put the pieces of their life together, or those who don't have it all figured out yet. Interestingly, when Jesus referenced hell in particular conversations, he was actually warning the insiders, the religious, the ones who had unlocked the code and said they had God figured out, the ones seen as the religious elite, the ones who knew all the right words, but yet had forgotten how to love their neighbors well. When Jesus spoke of fire and weeping and gnashing of teeth, he wasn't trying to scare people into some transactional faith that only kicks in after you die. That would have been a totally foreign concept to most first century rabbis. Jesus was calling his own people, who were already in, back to their original purpose, to be a light to the nations, to embody radical healing, and to hold close to their hearts inclusive love for God and their neighbor. Hell in those moments wasn't a threat for outsiders. It was a wake-up call for the insiders who'd grown comfortable with exclusion and not caring for those who needed it most. For Jesus, hell wasn't about punishment after death. It was about the consequences of choosing power over mercy, purity over compassion, and appearance over justice. Jesus didn't use hell to manipulate or coerce. He used it to illuminate the importance of being who we were always created and called to be from the beginning, and that's a light to those who are struggling in the darkness. And it's strange, isn't it, how the people who are most preoccupied with hell after death are often the ones who overlook the hells that people are living through right now. Things like poverty and loneliness, racism, abuse, addiction, despair. Jesus didn't go around warning outsiders about some future inferno. He walked straight into the fire with the hurting and the outcast. And he brought heaven and healing with him. And so should we. The call of Jesus isn't to use fear as leverage, but instead to live in such a way that takes heaven and allows it to break through the cracks of this broken world. See, the people who are most acquainted with suffering, they need to get a glimpse of the peace and justice and love of God that we embody and that we carry. But somewhere along the way, we started telling a different story. One where the good news wasn't about restoration or reconciliation, but instead it was about escape. One where the central message was, get Jesus right or God will get you. And if that's the story, if the gospel is about Jesus saving us from a God who's angry, violent, and perpetually disappointed, then what exactly makes that God good? Like, how can we trust a God that we need to be rescued from? I would submit to you, we can't. And that's the problem, because that's not God. Jesus didn't come to threaten us on God's behalf. He came to show us what God is actually like. He even said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. He came to show us what it was like to eat with sinners and weep with the grieving and stand with the marginalized, to love so extravagantly that it makes religious people furious. Jesus didn't come to scare the hell out of us. He came to show us how to start eternal, abundant life right here and right now. Food for thought.